Hi friends, and welcome to A Cup of Happy. This is my second part of my 7-part parenting series, and today we are going to talk about toddlers. Last week we talked about infants, and so naturally it just seems like this is the next stage to talk about. Also, in advance, whether you're listening to this or watching on the video, we have been fighting a bit of a cold in our house. So if I cough or have to clear my throat a little more than normal, I'm just apologizing in advance because, yeah, it's just real life. But, so, toddlers. There's a lot to talk about with toddlers, but I'm kind of excited about this stage. I really think that this is a very critical stage to set the groundwork for future stages. I really do believe that this is a very critical stage to learn how to teach our child some boundaries. And I also want to say with that this may possibly be one of the most controversial parts to my series, and that is more of a warning and not an apology. I'm not going to apologize for what I'm about to share, but I also want to remind you, just like I did in the last video, that you're the mom, you're the parent, and I want you to trust your instincts. We all have our God-given intuition and gut feelings, and I want you to trust that. And just remember that every part of this series is me sharing what's worked for me and my family. And as we get later into the series, you will also hear me talk about things that don't work, that I learned by doing them and realizing that it doesn't work. So with that, let's get started. Again, this is not a protocol for parenting that I want to push onto anybody. Take it as you will and do your own research. I definitely encourage you to research yourself to find out what techniques in parenting work best and most align with your heart. That's most important. I love you all so much, and parenting is so challenging as it is. It just can be a very challenging time, and I'm here to support you. So whether you agree with me or you don't agree with me, that's okay. I'm on your side. I'm on your side because you're a mom or parent, and you are doing the best that you can and showing up for your kids and for yourself, and we're all on the same side, even if we have different ways we go about that. So, let's start with, first of all, the conversation around toddlers. So often there are so many negative phrases that are used to define this stage. There's the terrible twos, there's the three-nagers, all said with that little bit of eye roll or shoulder shrug or just that sigh of almost just frustration. There's a really big negative vocabulary that's used so often with the toddler stage, but I want to offer you this thought. It doesn't have to be terrible. It does not have to be. I never bought into the idea of terrible twos or the three-nager stage. I cannot remember a time in any of my kids' lives when they were going, the different kids that I have, as they were going through these stages, that I ever referred to them as the terrible twos or the three-nagers. I never really bought into that, and I'm not even 100% sure if it was conscious at that time, but I just didn't. So I want to offer you, it doesn't have to be terrible. There will be terrible days. There will be terrible moments. There will be moments that you feel like a terrible parent. And there will be moments that you think your child's behavior is terrible. But overall, It doesn't have to be an entire stage defined by terribleness. It can be amazing. And that's what this is all about, helping you to find that peace or that rhythm, that style of parenting that may help you find that this doesn't have to be a bad stage. It really doesn't. So let's just talk about the most controversial thing about this. And I'm just going to say it right off the bat, and that is spanking. I said it, I know. And you may be thinking, Nicole, how on earth can you talk about spanking? What about positive parenting? And what about all of those children who've been abused by their parent and the idea of spanking condones their behavior? Or even, my child's just too cute. I could never think about spanking him. And I want you to know I've heard every argument, and I have thought about every argument, every side of the story. And I decided for myself and for my children that this early childhood spanking was best for us. And here's the thing, early childhood spanking does not cause trauma. And why do I say that? Here's why I say that. Well, let me back up. I do want to say that I do not condone slapping. I do not believe that slapping your child or lashing out in anger or in the moment when your emotions are so heated and just wailing on your kid. That is not what I'm talking about. Not at all. And I will explain what I believe appropriate spanking is in just a little bit. So stay tuned for that. But there is a calculated way to administer effective spanking that also reinforces love. And that is what I want to help you understand today and let you know where I'm coming from. Childhood amnesia. That is the reason why I believe that early childhood spanking does not cause trauma. Up until the age of about 7, it's approximate, so it's different for each child. So that's another thing where you'd have to pay attention to, your own intuition and your own inner voice. Up until about age 7, memories are very faint and often forgotten. Most people do not have very many memories, if any, from their toddler stages. And one example that I want to give you is of learning to walk. So all babies have to learn to walk eventually. And this happens in that early toddler stage. And so many times the little babies, when they're walking, they fall flat on their butt and they cry and they hurt their knees or they bang their head. And there's all these things that are just make the child cry, like their soul is crushing inside of them. And then pretty soon they're walking all over the place. And by the time that child is in school, is in preschool or kindergarten, they don't remember all of the times that they fell down while they were learning to walk. The pain of learning is forgotten, but the lesson remains. And that's exactly the reason why I believe that early childhood spanking, when done in a very appropriate and calculated way, is a very effective way to train our children to be safe. Now, there's a very common mistake that a lot of kids, or a lot of parents, make, and with toddlers. And sometimes this is coming because they don't know what to do next. But how many times have you heard or said yourself to a kid, no, 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 I said no, no. And you just repeat that over and over and over again. But they just hear no. What does that mean? They don't even really know what that means. Or if you tell your little child not to touch something or to put something down. Hey, I need you to put that down. That's not for you. I'm going to count to 3. 1, you better put it down. Mommy's counting to 2. 2, here comes 3. What we're doing is we're teaching them that they don't have to listen when we first speak because there's a countdown. There's stages. Oh, she doesn't really mean it right now. She hasn't gotten to the end yet. And this literally can cause so much frustration on our part as parents and on their part as children, and it literally just prolongs that time of correction. And the thing about little toddlers is the toddler stage is not the stage that humans are capable of sound reasoning. It's our job as parents at this stage to keep them safe. Now, as they get older, there will be a time where we teach them reasoning and we teach them how to think about things that they're told and how they should respond to them. But at this stage, our primary goal is to keep them safe. And let's say that we are in a new area and you're taking your little girl for a walk in a new area to a new park, and this isn't an area that you're familiar with, or maybe it is an area you're familiar with, but there's a big stick in the middle of the sidewalk that you normally walk on, and she's not used to seeing it there because this is the way that she always goes. So she's just kind of running down the sidewalk and without really paying attention because she knows this area. It's familiar to her. And then all of a sudden you say, "Hey, Susie, stop. Stop." Is she going to stop before she trips over the stick that she can't see? What do you think? Here's what I want to offer you. There's ways to help ensure that your child will stop when you first say to stop. And that doesn't happen by repeating yourself over and over at the same time without any consequence before mommy explodes because you didn't listen the first 100 times that I told you no. So let's just say let me give some examples of ways that you can implement this strategic type of spanking that will help teach your children to listen to your voice and to know that your voice is helping to keep them safe. The first example of this is actually going to go all the way back to when they're still in diapers, maybe even before they're walking. Let's say as early as 8-9 months. And yes, this is the stage that you can even begin teaching them your voice at this time. How many times have you ever changed the diaper of an 8 or 9 month old that just wanted to be on the go, just wanted to crawl, but you knew that it was important to change their diaper at this time or else a disaster could happen soon. So they're laying there, and while they're laying there, they just getting this little attitude and arching their back and making it so difficult for you to change their diaper. This is a time that it is very appropriate for you to just tell them one time, "Hey, Janie, mommy needs you to lay here to change your diaper." If after that first time she does not stop and settle down and let you change her diaper, which it's likely she won't because she's learning at this point. She hasn't learned yet. Then you take your little hand and just pop her on the thigh. Tiny little pop on the thigh, just enough to get her attention and to know what's going to happen. Oh, she's going to be so sad, and she's going to have big tears just flowing down her face, and it's going to break your heart. And then you're going to finish changing her diaper, and you're going to pick her up, and you're going to give her a hug. And you're going to tell her, "Janie, mommy loves you. I just needed to change your diaper real fast." And then it's going to be over. Done. That moment of discipline is done. Now let's say when they're a little bit older, just a little bit later into the toddler stage, and they have found their freedom walking all over the place, and they absolutely are just having a blast finding their freedom. And they see something that you had on your table because you were reading it. It's yours, and they want to go pick it up and read it. And you're like, "Oh no, that's mommy's. You can't touch that. No." And they look at you, and they grab it again anyways. It's at that point that you have now given them one instruction. Mommy said no, don't touch it. And if they do, then you walk over to them and you say, Johnny, Mommy said don't touch that, so you can't touch that. And then you give them a little spanking on the bottom, and they cry. And they cry because you just broke his heart, because he thinks that that thing on the table is the most special thing to him, and he wanted it right in that moment, and now he can't have it. Now, that crying is going to break your heart, but afterwards, what you're going to do is you're going to sit there for about 15 seconds and just let it sink in. Just let it sink in, and then you're going to say, Mommy loves you. And you're going to give Johnny a big hug and reassure him of the fact that you love him and that he's not bad, but he's just not allowed to touch that book. These are the types of things that are so crucial in developing in your child a sense of understanding that your voice and what you say is important and it's for their good. The defiant action is what needs to be corrected. And the problem with not doing it the first time is that it leads to frustration. As a parent, we get super frustrated. And I mean, the child gets frustrated because they never know if they're going to be in trouble after mom says it the third time or the 7th time or the 20th time. But it's our job to define boundaries. And by doing that, we minimize the frustration. There is a little bit extra effort on the front end, but when each encounter with a child is dealt with after the first time, it becomes easier. It becomes easier because the child learns when mom says something the first time, I need to do it or else there's going to be a consequence. Rather than a question in their mind of how many times do I have to get away with this before I really make mom mad? And then who even knows what happens after that? So the problem also with getting frustrated is that so many times we get so overwhelmed because we don't stop the action that needs corrected at the beginning. And we end up labeling the child as bad. That child never listens. He's so bad. He's just so mischievous. And then that child begins to hear all of those things that we're calling them. And we're labeling that child as those things. We're labeling the child bad. And in reality, it's just the action, the defiant action that needs corrected. And it's so beneficial to our children to reassure them that they are good, kind humans, and their actions need to be in alignment with that. And of course, a way that a 2-year-old will understand, a 3-year-old will understand. And I just want to offer that if you are able to create a discipline for your child, maybe it's spanking, maybe you find something else that works. I didn't, not for a little toddler, but I'm just me. I'm not a parenting expert. I don't claim to be. I'm just a parent with a lot of experience. But if you can find a way to reinforce what you're saying and get your child to understand that when you speak, when you give them an instruction the first time, that it's important that they do it, you're going to improve your parenting experience because the level of frustration or the amount of times you get frustrated is going to decrease. And you're going to have more times of joy with your child. You're going to be spending less time giving orders because when they don't do it the first time, you're going to correct it. And then you won't be repeating yourself over and over and over again. And if any of this resonates with you just a little bit, I encourage you to look a little bit deeper. Do some research on your own and find a way that works for you. Because parenting, like I said before, it's challenging, but it can be so rewarding and it can be so fulfilling. And let me tell you, if you have listened this far in this video, and you are the parent of a little toddler or baby or an older child, you already have shown it's obvious. And it's not because you watch this video, but by watching this video, it just shows that you actually care. You're curious. You're curious what other people are saying about parenting, and you care. And that's the big step. That's the big step, is caring enough to do a little bit of research to determine your next best steps. So, my friends, I just want to leave you with a reminder that you're amazing. You're doing great, and I love you so much. And I hope that somehow today in your parenting experience of I'm recording this on a Wednesday, you find some happiness in your day. And I love you. Have a great day.